Redemption by Rick Kramer. Morning in the desert. Armed saguaros reach for the sky, as do the barren mountains upon which they perch. Ray of sunlight pierces a stray cloud, red plank water tower, whitewashed letters, ruby, damn near deserted. Dust devil sweeps past the tower by the railhead, tosses up another layer of dirt on Main Street, keeps on sweeping. Past the barber shop, barrage saloon and hotel, bank, assayer's office, jail, mortuary. Church spire exercises the devil afore it reaches the hard-scrabbled cemetery out back. 6 freshly covered graves, hand-carved wooden markers, Harley O'Shanahan, Sheriff Millard Jefferson, various others. 1 open grave, 1 pine box sitting in the hole, 2 hombres sitting on a pile of dirt above it. Court Cassidy, 40s, dirty blonde hair, desert tough. Leviticus, 20s, Apache, wiry build, thick black hair. Bolo-tied, black-suited, black-skinned preacher, Mordecai Warren, 40s, ambles up, don't stand much on ceremony.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. God have mercy on her soul. That'd be $2.
Thump, thump, $2 silver land at Mordecai's feet. He takes the insult and the silver. First dirt honors to court. Leviticus tosses in a cactus bloom, shovel, shovel. Detritus buries the dead.
Ain't right.
Next to her mama.
Him too.
Ain't taking him up.
Bad suit wearing, sweating, fat pig of a banker, Martin Greenbaum, 30s. Speaking the king's own proper English, approaches.
Mr. Cassidy, failure to make due and proper payment on your ranch by end of day will result in the reversion of ownership of said property to the bank.
Greenbaum brandishes a foreclosure. Court brandishes a 45.
Who's gonna take it?
Greenbaum edges away, drops the notice, runs.
Thought it was yours.
Thought there'd be more Indians to kill. Sorry.
I can get you caught up.
Can't pay you back.
Wouldn't be for you.
Dad don't care about the living.
Court pounds a hand-scrawled wooden marker into the ground. Josephine Cassidy, Harley's girl, 1881. In the Mirage that evening, sparsely occupied, bad piano player could be the reason. A couple of hombres at the bar, Leviticus behind it. Court at a table, polishes off a shot. Charlie Munger, 60s, dead squirrel for a mustache. Don't much get by him. Sits with Court, fresh bottle in hand.
Job for you.
Indians?
Munger pours 2 shots.
Yes, sir.
Court drains one.
Not interested.
Paid in gold.
What'd they do?
They stole 20 horses.
Probably ate 'em.
Ain't after the horses.
Done with that.
Ain't much good for nothing else, there are you?
Court Deadeyes Munger drains a second shot.
Meant no insult. Most men around here ain't got the particular skills as you, drinking or not.
Any openings at the mine?
For skilled men.
Dug plenty of grave. Can't be much different.
Sure about the other?
We'll see.
Yeah, I respect that. Be at the mine in the morning.
Munger reaches for Court's hand. Court reaches for Munger's bottle. Moves to Annie, 20s, auburn hair, live, at the bar.
So you already got a drink? What else are you thinking about?
Hotel room, Court, Annie in bed, naked bodies entwined, moving, faster and more furious now. Court climaxes, Annie don't bother to fake it, they separate.
Ain't like you to turn down a job.
Done with that.
Pays good, don't it?
And about the money.
Yes, for me.
Court studies the cracked ceiling.
What?
How's a man make up for a lifetime of killing?
Don't know many that think about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes all you can do is move on.
Sound like Harley.
The other girls told me I kind of look like her. Saw her picture. We kind of favor each other.
Not so much.
You like keeping people at a distance, don't you? Most men do. I mean, there is the occasional one who thinks he's in love, but that don't ever last.
What would you know about being a man?
been with enough of them. Don't hold it against me.
Harley always had a bottle up here.
So does Annie, and shot glasses. She pours.
Why are you still here?
What?
Court down's a shot, kills another.
Nothing left for you now.
Starting at the mine tomorrow.
I ain't talking about work.
Being alone here, same as anywhere.
Court down's another shot.
Living alone ain't living.
Now you sound like Joe.
How so?
Talking about love.
What's wrong with love?
Makes you do foolish things.
So you have been in love.
Didn't suit me.
Changes people.
About me.
Especially the ones you don't want it to.
Red Hat Mine, 10 miles downrange of Ruby. Side of a mountain, leveled off space, miners, burrows, mining gear, rail tracks, office. Roundabout cable rig, miners fill buckets, gravity pulls them downhill to a smelting facility. Empty bucket comes back up to the other side. In the office, one chair, one desk, one Mr. Munger. Greenbaum's fat fingers finger a file of figures in a ledger.
Chasing a new vein.
But there's never a guarantee, is there?
Let me ask you a question there, Mr. Greenbaum. What the hell is the bank gonna do with an empty hole in the ground in a town with nobody living in it?
That, Mr. Munger, is for the bank to decide, not I.
Greenbaum gathers his gear, moves to the door, Court locks said door.
Excuse me.
Court don't. Greenbaum squeezes by, Court enters. Munger swaps the ledger for a contract, hands Court a beat to ship fountain pen.
Ready to go to work?
Freelap thunk thunk. Off screen.
Yes, sir.
Well, either sign or make your mark.
Freelap thunk thunk thunk. Freelap thunk thunk thunk. Court signs. In the mine, claustrophobic rock shaft, dimly lit by mining lanterns.
Well, get to it.
Synchronized three-man pickaxe ballad pickets deeper. Court, soaked through with sweat, fills a rail car. Light at the end of the tunnel. Court pushes the car that way. Reaches the mine entrance, tips the load into a cable bucket, sends it downhill. Slumps against the empty car. Tilts up a dry flask. Kaboom! Dynamite dislodges rock at a new mine entrance. Eagle-eyed mine foreman, Bentworth, 50s. Eagle eyes Court.
Cassidy,
Court looks over.
Yes, sir.
get them boys clear that debris.
Court moves in with 3 other men, 20s. Court lags noticeably behind the younger men. Blood-red sun sets, whistle blows, work stops. Court wraps a cracked, blistered hand in a dirty rag.
Cassidy,
Yes, sir.
Bentworth motions him over.
Mr. Munger ain't paying full wages for half work. You either keep up, or you don't come back.
At the railhead, a smoke-belching dragon disgorges Miss Nellie Blythe and her gear, 21, refined, beautiful. Appears that dragon may have copped her up at the wrong spot, but appearances can be deceiving. Nobody meeting her. Dragon melts into the big red ball of fire on the horizon. Nellie melts into the growing dark toward Ruby. In the mirage a few minutes later, piano player ain't getting no better, although the fat banker pig seems to enjoy it. Enjoys watching Nellie mosey in even more. Nellie wraps a silver dollar on the bar rail. Leviticus materializes, a little taken aback by this stranger.
What'll it be?
Nellie got herself one of them damned Yankee accents.
Whiskey, unless you have port.
Nearest port's 500 miles from here, ma'am.
Student of geography, I see. Whiskey it will be, sir. Any room for a few nights if you are also the puppeteer? Nellie Blythe.
Nellie extends a hand. Leviticus extends a shot, key.
$1 a night.
Nellie grabs the key. Leviticus grabs her hand.
In advance.
Of course.
Nellie flashes a fat stack of cash, yo.
No paper.
My good man, you do realize that this is the currency of the realm, accepted anywhere in the 38 amphitheater territories by authority of Congress?
I only accept coin of the realm.
Fair enough.
Nellie gets her hand back for a $5 gold piece.
Here there was a shootout in town here a while back.
Leviticus cleans a glass that ain't dirty. Nellie drinks like a man. Motions for a refill, gets one.
Heard the sheriff met a bad end.
Leviticus pours himself one too.
Heard he had an adopted brother, Apache. About your age.
Leviticus downs his shot.
Heard it was over a woman.
Super 2 weeks ago. Boom, boom, boom. Gunfire, gun smoke, screaming lead, screaming cowboys. Sheriff Millard Jefferson, 30s, leaps behind a water trough. Josephine Cassidy, 20s, flaming red hair, flames 2 Colts. Blonde deputy goes down, blood spurting out of that hole in his heart. Young deputy takes one in the gut. Jefferson fires at Joe, thunk, barely misses. Splintered wood splinters her face. She fires back, misses. Court takes out 2 cowboys with 1 bullet from each pistol. Leviticus fires past Court at sneaky deputy who was about to shoot Court in the back. Court fires at balcony deputy. Balcony crashes through a railing, thuds to the ground. Jefferson rolls out from behind the trough, fires. Court sports her through and through in his right arm after that. Court spins, fires back with the gun in his left hand. Court's bullet pierces Jefferson's arm. Jefferson's gun goes flying. Josephine blasts Jefferson in the chest. No coming back from that. Josephine crosses bloody sand, stands over Jefferson. Dead men make no sound, but the living do. Mortally wounded balcony deputy lifts his gun. Court sees him. Josephine, don't. Court ain't got a shot.
Joe!
Boom! Balcony fires. Joe fires back. Sunlight shines through balcony's brain. Blood seeps from Josephine's chest. She falls. Leviticus catches her before she hits the ground. Her life ebbs away. Blood puddles under her back.
No, 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 come back to me.
Joe's eyes flutter. Open mouth fills with blood. Ain't no last words. Just the silent blackness of death. Present.
Maybe you heard wrong.
You may find this difficult to believe, but my interest is professional. I am, in fact, a reporter, and I pride myself on printing the truth instead of the fiction of rumor.
Leviticus walks away. Greenbound lands beside her.
It's a long way from New York.
Not as far as it is from London. Do I know you, sir?
Martin Greenbaum at your service, here to assess the mines for the bank. I've read your articles in the New York Times, Mr. Bly. Thought I was the only one relegated to this godforsaken backwater. Surely you're not here chasing a story.
I was and still am on my way to Mexico, but heard an intriguing rumor.
Silver and truth seem to be in short supply here, Miss Bly. I suspect, like many other one-time boom towns, Ruby and her citizens will soon die together and simply be swallowed by history, along with what may have passed for news. Sorry to disappoint.
Up in Annie's room, filthy water draining over Court's naked back. Annie squeezes out a sponge, hands him a towel.
Ain't as young as I once was.
It just means you gotta work smarter.
I can't keep up.
Court pulls on a bottle.
Drinking ain't helping.
It is.
Guess you gotta stop to find out.
That's right. Only one thing I'm good at.
Pretty good at feeling sorry for yourself, but you can't make a living at that neither.
Court smashes the empty bottle, jerks Annie close. She ain't backing down.
Let go!
When you've lost everything you ever had in your life, then you come talk to me about feeling sorry.
Annie knees Court hard in the nuts. He's down.
Indians killed my parents. My brothers, my sister, right in front of me. I was 9. See this?
Annie bears a scar on the left breast.
That's from an arrow that was stuck in me. I played dead under my mama's body, watched him scalp my father before they killed him. I couldn't watch what they did to the rest of me. Couldn't block out their screams, neither.
Annie helps Court onto the bed, tense his blistered hands.
Army ran him off, found me near death, turned me over to Madam up in Flagstaff. Guess you can figure out the rest. We were going to San Francisco. Still plan on getting there one day. And you are going back to that mine in the morning.
Near Globe, Arizona, dawn. After the storm, blue sky, puddles, washed out gullies. 6 horses strain to pull a packed stage up a muddy trail. Eugene Middleton, 50s, tough as the terrain, bans the reins. Sheriff Bill Holmes, 40s, rides shotgun with a rifle. A man on horseback checks the hour on a gold pocket watch. The back reads, to Sheriff Glenn Reynolds, Albany, Texas, 1868. Sunlight glints off the watch onto the eyes of the Apache kid, 30s, lean, muscular, cuffed and shackled in the stage. 6 other shackled, handcuffed Apaches sit with the kid and the Mexican bandito, Avota, 80s, 20s. The kid speaks to Hoscatel, 20s, and the other prisoners in subtitled Chiricoa Apache, Avota no hablas the Apache.
They must let us out soon, or they will not make the rise.
They will keep us in chains.
They have to free our legs for us to walk.
They will shoot us if we try to escape.
White men have a strange justice. They would rather see us in jail.
Not these white men.
Bam, bam, bam! Holmes bangs the butt of his rifle on the roof of the stage,
Quiet down there!
This is the plan.
up on the coach.
Damned redskins.
Holmes fires his rifle and the groundhog misses.
We're wasting ammo.
Shit, we can take this bunch with a corn cob and a lightning bug.
So we don't come to that.
Stage halts on a small rise, much steeper rise looms ahead. Reynolds dismounts, shotgun in hand, ties his horse to the back of the stage. Holmes climbs down, unlocks the stage door, then the long bar around which the prisoner's legs are shackled.
Out! Get out!
Avoda and his Apaches file out. Kid's last in line. Holmes levels his rifle at him.
Not you.
Kid sits back down. Reynolds calls up to Middleton.
They're out!
Middleton snaps the reins, stage moves up the grade. Holmes positions the prisoners at rifle point.
Line up, damn you.
Apaches fall in. Reynolds takes lead. Holmes takes the rear. Near empty stage pulls further away. Cowboys and Indians trudge through the mud. Hoscatel eyes Red Sash, the Apache beside him. They move up to Reynolds, closer, past Avota. Holmes slips in the mud, regains his footing.
God damn it.
Hoscatel closer, 1 foot, inches from Reynolds' hand. Coach disappears over the top of the grade. Hoscatel lets out a wild war whoop, jumps Reynolds, wrestles him to the ground. 3 Apaches turn on Holmes. He gets off a shot, misses. Red Sash wrestles his rifle away. Avota flees up the slope. Boom! Gusher of blood spurts from Holmes' head. Reynolds overpowers Hoscatel, aims the shotgun. Boom! Reynolds goes down, shot through the heart by the Apache with Holmes' rifle. Red Sash grabs Reynolds' pistol, spies the gold chain, follows it to his pocket, grabs the watch. Escapees head up the slope. At the stage, gunfire echoes over the plains. Middleton stands, look back. Avota crests the ridge behind him.
Vaya, vaya!
The hell's going on back there?
Tus amigos están muertos, muertos! Vaya, vaya!
Apaches crest the rise. Boom. Hot lead tours Middleton's open. Hot lead tours Middleton's open mouth. Passes through his neck. He tumbles off the stage. Thud. Lands hard. Avota flees into the open. Indians free. Apache Kid. Middleton bleeds on the ground. Red Sash readies to crush his skull with a boulder. Kid stops him.
No.
Why not?
He gave me a cigarette the night before we boarded the stage.
Red Sash crashes the rock down anyway, right beside Middleton's head. Shares a look at the kid. Kid turns to his braves.
Cut the horses loose.
In the cemetery next morning, Nellie, picture box on a tripod, black cloth over her head. Josephine's grave marker comes into focus upside down, then it disappears. Nellie pulls her head out. Mordecai's standing there.
Excuse me, Padre, trying to take a photograph.
This here is church property, Miss Blythe.
Word travels fast, I see.
No secrets in a place this small.
There's at least one.
And that would be?
The fate of a certain Sheriff Jefferson and one Josephine Cassidy.
No mystery.
Not mine.
Everybody gets what's coming to them.
And what's coming to you, Padre?
$1. Her photograph.
A bargain.
Nellie flashes the cash again.
And how much for an interview?
Big shit-eaten grin grows on Mordecai's face. Back in the mine, red shirt miner lights a few steps back. Kaboom! Smoke and debris fill the tunnel. Court hustles forward.
No way!
Crack! A section of the ceiling collapses, buries Court. Miners rush to dig him out. Green shirt hits a last boulder. Court beat to shit out cold. Miners lift him clear. Water flushes shit off Court's face. He sputters back to life. Back in the mining office, Court busts in. Mother looks up from a ledger.
Still looking for them horses.
Well, I hired another man, but But two's better than one if you're willing to work with them.
Who?
Wilkerson.
History there, ain't good. See it in court's eyes.
You in?
Yes, sir.
Headed west about an hour ago. Expect you can catch up with him.
Desert, blistering sun, towering mountains, looming thunderhead. 80 miles out, heading this way. Gritty, alkali dust scours a dry like bed. Shimmering heat waves distort the image of two men in the distance on horseback. Closer now. Wilkerson, 40s, bald, left eye patched, giant scar eaten that half of his face, riding a paint. Court looks damn near as bad. On a road, vomits.
Wait.
Wilkerson does.
Ain't waiting on a man can't hold his damn liquor.
Stops.
Ain't been drinking.
Court dismounts, inspects the ground.
It's tracks.
Wilkerson circles back.
How many?
Too many to miss. Even for a man with one eye.
How many, damn it?
Dozen? Maybe less. 5 mounted.
Wilkerson follows the trail a few feet. Stops.
Headed west.
Later, sun eased down past 4, thunderheads closer, so's the lightning, about 40 miles out now. Court and Wilkerson crawl to the edge of a bluff. Wilkerson, field telescope to his eye, dry wash, half a mile away. 6 scores, 5 horses still standing, another one butchered, horse meat sizzling over a fire. Wilkerson passes the scope to Court. Court focuses on a young squaw. Boys are talking low now so Indians don't hear them.
Easy pickings.
Court throws up again on Wilkerson.
Damn it!
Nothing but women and children.
Yeah, so?
Job was to get them horses back.
Job is to kill them Indians so they don't take no more horses.
They ain't the ones that took them.
Wilkerson mounts up. Court don't.
But they're damn sure the ones eating. Let's go. Yell them before they know what hit them.
Gonna stir up the Braves.
Good. Be a bounty on them too.
You been gone 5 years. Things ain't the same.
Oh, you ain't, that's for sure. Hell happen to you.
They'll come back at us.
Fuck 'em. Let's go kill some Indians, damn it.
I ain't.
Wilkerson quick draws his Colt.
You mount up, or I will shoot you down.
Court's hand hovers over his own shooting iron.
You ain't never been that fast.
Court reaches for reins instead, climbs up.
You first?
Court moves out at gunpoint. Edge of the wash. Wilkerson takes a hit from a flask, tosses it to Court. Court tosses it back without drinking. Wilkerson draws both Colts. Court draws his. Wilkerson spurs his horse. Court follows. Wilkerson roars into camp, rides down a running squaw, blasts away. A 10-year-old boy goes down, shot in the back. Court never fires. Wilkerson jerks his horse to a stop, takes careful aim. Boom, boom. Last 2 fleeing squaws fall dead. Wilkerson reloads in the bloody southern silence. Court stares at the carnage. War cries of Apache braves shatter the silence. Thunk! An arrow takes Court's horse down, pins him. Thunk! Another arrow pierces his left thigh before he can squirm out. A flying lance nicks Wilkerson's sleeve. Brave jumps off his horse behind Court, killing knife in hand. Court turns, sees him too late. Boom! Wilkerson's bullet splatters Indian brains all over Court's face. Wilkerson swaps a brave a bullet to the gut for an arrow in the shoulder. Wilkerson unloads on the last brave the instant before he launches an arrow. Wilkerson rides up to Court, aims right at him, cocks his pistol.
I always knew you was a coward.
Court spooks Wilkerson's horse. Boom! Wilkerson's shot goes wide. Horse throws him. Thud! He lands hard. Crunch! A boot heel grinds into Wilkerson's eye patch. Wilkerson rolls away, finds his feet. Court wades in. Right, left, blocked. Wilkerson's turn. Left, uppercut, gut punch, blocked. Wilkerson stumbles back, falls. Wilkerson finds a spear. Court finds his Colt. Then the trigger. Click, misfired. Wilkerson swings the spear like a club, smashes Court's back. Circle, circle, jab, lunge, circle, circle, jab, jab. Court grabs the shaft of the spear, jerks Wilkerson forward, trips him, steals the spear from him as he falls, drives it through Wilkerson's chest, pins him to the earth. Wilkerson's blood pools. He twitches once, twice, stops. Court collapses, exhausted, bleeding, spent. Quiet again for a moment. Low moan. Gut shot score, maybe 14, puddle of blood.
Water.
Court stands over her. Don't say nothing, just look at her.
Por favor, agua.
Water ain't gonna save you.
Court limps away. Digs out Wilkerson's flask, limps back over to the squaw. She thinks it's water, reaches for it. Court drains it himself instead, then boom, blows her away. Lightning splits the sky, thunder rattles the ground, storms here, rain floods the parched earth and Court. Court snaps off the arrow shaft in his leg, digs the head out with a Bowie knife, blacks out. Heat of the morning, corpses, flies, puddles evaporate in seconds. Court's face, lips, nose, blister in broiling sun. A couple of buzzards making a medical assessment of Court. The biggest hops over, pecks at Court's festering leg wound. Court don't move. The other joins in, but there's a slight misdiagnosis on the part of their birds.
Ah!
Court flaps his arms, then buzzers flap their wings, hop back 5 feet. Court hops up on one leg, sweating, delirious, spinning around, collapses. Then birds look at each other, then back at Court. A shadow. Court opens his eyes. Joe stands there.
Get up, Daddy.
Josephine,
Come on, Court.
I'm tired.
Move it, mister.
Josephine helps Court up.
Where are we going?
Back to Ruby.
Horse is gone.
No, he ain't.
5 stolen horses stand beside Court's horse. Court ropes them together, climbs aboard.
You coming?
Court looks up. Joe's gone. Might never have been there. Court spurs his mount, melts into the shimmering mirage over the lake bed. Dawn in Ruby. Red sky. Sun still hiding behind the mountains. Coyote working a little OT pads down a silent, unoccupied main street. Leviticus stretches out on the balcony above the saloon. Horse below farts, hisses a loud stream on hard-packed dirt. Leviticus looks down, Court, passed out on the horse. Back at the wash, blazing sun, 10 braves laying the last rocks on the dead. Fighting bear, muscular, shaved head, war-painted face, kicks Wilkerson in the balls, hard, no movement. Kisses on him, moves to his horse, mounts up. 10 little Indians move out. Up in Annie's room, Court, asleep, dreaming, eyes moving.
Come on, Daddy.
12-year-old Josephine, green grass, crystal stream, dappled sunlight near the grove of willow trees. A 10-year younger Court catches up with her.
Hold your horses, girl. I swear, Creel ain't going nowhere.
Josephine unpacks a basket, crusty bread, dried beef, shrunken apple. Court tips a flask, looks at her, sadness creeps over him.
I wish your mom could see you.
Damn, Daddy. That's what preacher says.
Annie's voice calls out from the heavens.
Court.
Back in the room, Annie mops his brow, brushes a stray lock back into place, shakes his shoulder.
Court.
Court opens his eyes, close as he ever gets to a smile.
I was with Joe.
You ain't dead yet, mister.
What is it?
Munger's asking for you.
Down at the bar, Munger tosses $1 to the piano player. Thank you, sir. Any requests?
Yes, sir. Stop hammering on that damn thing for 10 minutes.
Court meets Munger at the bar. Jacob pours 2 shots.
All the horses you could get?
Yes, sir.
Wilkerson?
Didn't make it.
Indians?
Court looks at Jacob. Jacob doesn't look back.
Didn't make it either.
Munger lays out a stack of silver, then another.
Wilkerson's share. Appreciate it.
Munger stands.
Didn't have to kill him.
But you did.
Wilkerson.
Now, done is done. Don't matter who.
Ain't time for them to patch it.
Munger considers this. For a split second, walks out. Court pushes the silver across the bar to the Leviticus.
Put that away for me.
Downtown, Ruby at night. Good as it gets in this shithole. Light in a window here and there, horses tied off to rails, coyotes off in the distance. Court wanders, aimless, drift. Inside Mordecai's church, 20-seat nave, half-assed stained glass Jesus spitting back the fractured glow of an oiled lamp. Back of the pulpit, top of the small desk, Remington model 1875 six-shooter, Mordecai sitting there counting his money. A soft jingling, jangling, spurs, moving towards Mordecai. Cocks the Remington as he grabs it, turns, just caught.
Easier to save a few dollars than a few souls, ain't it, preacher man?
Well, it takes money to do the Lord's work, Mr. Cassidy. Another funeral service for you?
No, sir.
And what can I do then?
Court slides into a pew, silent, stares at the stained glass.
Nothing.
Mordecai opens a Bible, lips flat, whispers as he reads.
I've done a lot of bad things in my life.
Mordecai looks up.
The longest road in the world is the road to redemption, Mr. Cassidy. But God forgives all, if you ask.
Ain't no
Now,
God.
don't you blaspheme him, Mr. Cassidy. This is the one place you don't blaspheme. No matter if you believe in him or he believes in you. You never known you was going to church, man. You never known you'd be a church man, yet here you are.
There's something in the Bible about a rich man in the eye of a needle.
Preacher blinks first this time. Court hits the door, stops, turns.
Ain't no redeeming the things I done.
Cassidy's ranch, full moon rising, cacti, 2 run-down outbuildings, broken down fence. Main house ain't much better. Court dares down an eviction notice on the front door, goes inside. We don't. Bottle crashes, furniture breaks, liquid splashes. A small blow goes bigger. Court stumbles out, checks his Colt full, holsters the gun. Limps down the lane, stops at a little bridge over a small creek. Flames leap out the ranch house windows. Court toys with his Colt, ponders the moon, a tear spills down his left cheek. Court puts the gun to his head, cocks the hammer. But then clip-clop, slow horse, moving up the lane.
Mr. Cassidy?
Court redirects his weapon.
What do you want?
Captain John G. Burke, 30s, uniformed U.S. Army officer, checks his mount. Master of state the obvious.
I do believe your house is afire.
Ain't asking again.
Heard you were the best in these parts. Hunting Indians, that is.
Business of that is yours.
My business is catching the Apache Kid and 7 others.
Timbers crackle in the flames.
Managed to escape on his way to a federal prison, according to a survivor of the attack on the stage.
Ain't in the Indian killing business no more.
It's the civilized West now, Mr. Cassidy. Judges and juries will decide the fate of the escapees. You need to pull the trigger, unless it's self-defense, of course.
Plenty of men out there.
You know these Apaches, and you know this country.
Sparks shower Burke, Court still don't answer.
$25 a week, $500 a head, dead or alive.
Custer to Cassidy collapses completely.
I thought this was a really interesting script to read because you took such a direction with your scene description, as we talked about before. Yeah, this was the clearest example I've seen for a while where the scene description is really trying to become a part of the vibe of the piece. So I thought that was interesting to discuss here, because it's a choice, and there's a lot of a lot of different opinions about it. And then the other thing that really I liked about this was I really like that Court was trying to kill himself by the end, because I'm used to, like, I sort of, along the way I was like, okay, I've seen, this is all sort of, I get this and I get the town. I mean, I certainly got the spirit of the thing. It was just miserable. And everything seemed miserable and everyone seemed miserable. And, but then he was trying to kill himself. And so I was like, okay, this is a guy who is, he's not trying to man up. He's trying to sort of die, and I was intrigued by that. So that's I still like that. I still think that's a really interesting spin for a guide. I mean, it's you got to avert trying to get to Clint Eastwood in whatever that movie was.
Forgiven.
Yes,
Unforgiven.
Unforgiven, where he was essentially trying to murder everyone in the hopes that they would kill him, and he was just too good at it because he's Clint Eastwood. And I think hearing it, I think as descriptive as and as the scene description took a definite position, there's too much of it, and it starts to overwhelm everything else. Like it's almost like starts to feel, just listening to it, you start to care more about the color of the sunset than you are what's going on with the characters. So I would keep an eye on that for the next draft. I would probably I'm not suggesting that you go to stock standard traditional scene description at all. I would just start to spend a little bit more time on the characters, especially when we're 30 pages in. Again, like I said before, be aware of the cliches and start to subvert them, like Court. It was interesting listening to it. I wasn't 100% sure if we needed, I'm just going to say, how much of it we needed to get to where you want Court to be. Like, does he need to be in the mine? Does he need to, does he need some of that stuff? I know you want him to kind of reach a new low so he goes back to Indian killing, but he's broken suicidal. So, to me, that's enough. He could be, he can get into his own shenanigans, and also the secret that you have, which is obviously going to propel the series, which is what the hell happened. Because I'm staggered that he's not in jail. I mean, I guess he killed all of the lawmen, but he was involved in murdering the sheriff. And yet everybody in the town seems to be like, oh, that's just cool. Yeah. He's murdered another sheriff. Oh, well, cool. So that to me was really the heart and soul of Court was the show, the secret was the show. I wasn't 100% sure why we needed the reporter to come and investigate the secret, but I guess that's our entry into what the hell's going on, so I'll give you that. I don't know if we needed the mine. I don't know if we needed him going to kill more Indians, but I guess you need them to be angry, so to come in the future. So if you do want to stick with all that stuff, I would just look for ways to do things that are somewhat subverting what we expect. Right. Because you do that really well with Court trying to kill himself and setting fire to his own house. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's subverting what I expected him to do, because I think it'd be like, oh, I'm just going to kill Indians again, and I guess that's what I do, and I'm going to drink myself to death and be sad. So if you could do that with everyone else, I think that would be, it's a challenge, obviously, but I think that would be really interesting to sort of trim the scene description, get into the nitty-gritty of stuff. I don't think you need to worry about showing Court failing at mining in order to go back to Indian killing. Right. That's just my 2 cents. I think he at that point you could give him other reasons to go back to Indian killing. He's just given up. I don't know. But and then also tie him in a little bit more to whatever the hell happened to his family and the sheriff. Like I would even like him to interact with Nellie at that point too. Right. So, and also just a word for people writing scripts that are going to be read. You had characters, one was called Nellie, one was called Annie. That got confusing for me. You had your scene description, you didn't put in headings into the scene headings, and that got confusing to me. And it made me think, because I've been reading a lot of scripts in the last couple of months, there seems to be an urge from writers, I've done it, to differentiate yourself in a way and do things like, well, the rules don't apply to me, or I'm going to show that I'm going to sort of fiddle with them a little bit, and it's just a risk. Because I would say 9.5 times out of 10, all you're doing is sort of risking pissing off the reader, and that's not a thing that you want to do. Right. So, because Hannah is going to tell us how many scripts are on her desk right now, I'm going to think it's a staggering number. And we are all going to be staggered by the number that she has to be reading right now. So, so you want to avoid red flagging a script and keeping Hannah interested as long as you possibly can. And so those sort of little things just get under the skin of readers. Right. So especially when there are so many other names out there. So, and yeah, that would be mine. So that's all. Over to you.
So
Yeah.
before you start, let me tell you guys something about this
Sure.
piece. So
Sure, yeah.
the flashback is actually the end of a movie that I was acting in as Court Cassidy.
Oh,
So
excellent.
this was done a few years ago with the blessings of the writer-director Matt Knudsen. He allowed me to go on and come up with a story after the movie so we could see what we could do with this. So that's where the flashback comes in, that's where the Court Cassidy, Joe Cassidy characters come in.
Right.
Nellie Bly, the Apache Kid, all the cowboys with the Apache Kid and Captain Pork at the end, those guys are all real people, real historical figures. So this is intended to be almost a Hell on Wheels kind of thing, where you have this fictional character going through this story with these real people. Unlike Hell on Wheels, where you just had the one Transcontinental Railroad subplot, with this, it's going to be more like The Wire, where every season would be a different emphasis on a different story. So this first season would be Court and the Apache Kid. And there's a town called Pioche, Nevada, which was literally 14 people a day were murdered there in the 1800s. So another mining camp, and just some other historical things. So
Okay.
now you know that.
All right. So forget everything.
No, don't forget everything, because you got really valid points.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the idea. Okay.
Well, I really enjoyed it. It was actually really engrossing to listen to it being read. I don't know how you felt about that. I mean, look, echoing Tim, I do have a lot of the same notes. I think that, first of all, the voice in the exposition bothers me a little less than it does Tim. However, you are actually, the one thing I will say is you're putting the dialect in the exposition. I wouldn't do that. I think that is what makes it maybe a little too complicated for me to read. I don't mind how much description you have. I do agree that sometimes it does get a little too heady. I would actually argue particularly with some of your action sequences, actually. I think that those could be trimmed down a little bit, mostly because I think when it kind of all boils down to it, I mean, you want to get across, obviously, who's killing who, and who's living and who's dying, but beyond that, when this actually gets shot, all that stuff is going to change. Like, someone's going to come in and be like, yeah, there's this, like, we're going to do this, we're going to, so, like, that is, to at least to help with the simplicity, especially because this is so description heavy. Like, I think that that's the first place that you could look. I also think what you've done that's very smart is you've always broken it up into like 2 lines, and that it makes it much easier to read. I actually have a client who writes or who wrote it's a horror western, but like similarly, there's like a ton of description. I feel like in westerns in particular, there's a lot to kind of set up. And I think that the way you've structured it, it actually makes it, and I know I was listening as well, but I'm also reading it, and like that does make it easier to read and to swallow and all those things. So I think all of that is fine, and I think you do have really amazing description. Do I think some of that could be maybe tapered down a little bit? Sure, but it actually didn't really bother me that much. I think though, the one thing that Tim said that really strikes with me is, I agree it's really interesting and a little surprising that Court decides that yes, he's like, that we're waiting for him to kill himself in that moment. But I do agree that it's placed in a maybe the wrong place in your pilot. And I think that what Tim's saying about like, do we really need him to go through the whole mine experience to decide he's going to go back to his old job? I agree, I'm not sure you need it, but I think there's 2 avenues that you can approach this. Either you open on him already in a place where he's ready to kill himself, and that's like in your first act, and then that sets us up for the rest of the pilot and therefore the series. Or conversely, you actually make it at the very end of the pilot, and you do a whole long setup building to this moment where he sort of, the stakes are elevated to a degree where like, is he gonna pull the trigger or not? And even though we know he's not going to, he's would show if you did. That's like still
Right.
where you would end up wanting to put it.
Right.
And I think when you look at, you know, the most iconic, really, really good dramatic or drama pilots. One of the things that they tend to do, or at least the ones that I've responded to, you know, when you look at something like Breaking Bad, and I read it a really long time ago, so I'm gonna be really embarrassed if it's not good, but there's a pilot called Tyrant by Gideon Raff that became a series that I did not think was very good. The pilot itself, the written pilot, is like, I just remember being really blown away by it. But what they both sort of do, and what a lot of these series do, is that you're setting up this character where they start in one place that by the end of the pilot, they're
Right.
you're like,
Right.
so like, how the hell did they get from the beginning of the pilot to where they are here? And then, but even where they are at the end of the pilot is still kind of only the tip of the iceberg of where they're gonna go for the rest of the season. And so when I look at this, I just think that that's kind of what I'm talking about with him killing himself, is like, I think that if you were to put it at the very end of the pilot, and it might be an easier solve than putting it in the beginning, but then you can really actually get into who this guy is, and you can set up more with Josephine and with all these other characters and how they relate to him, and really take a minute to tell us more about him and who he is and his backstory and why he doesn't want to kill Indians and why that's so emotional for him, and that for some reason, you know, he's forced to go back into this lifestyle. And then maybe you could keep the mine scene. I guess I think the thing that bothers me about the mine scene is I don't really believe it. Like, I don't believe that he would either that he would go back to that job, or that he would actually be that bad at it, or that that's like, that him just, I can't even remember exactly what happens. He gets, he
went
goes
into soon
forward.
after
Yeah,
that.
but like, he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
why would he like not know? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. He's too smart and like too capable of a character to, in my opinion, do something like that, to be the reason that
Right.
like, that doesn't work. And so then immediately he's suddenly like, okay, I guess I have to go back. Like, it just all, his decisions around that whole piece of the story don't really make sense to me, for like how badass he's supposed to be, like, and how capable and intelligent and all those types of things. But conversely, I think if what you're trying to do with the mind, the whole setup, at least what I think you're trying to do with all of it, is just sort of basically show that this is like the last resort, that he really does not want to do this thing, and now he is forced to do it. And I think that whatever you decide to do with that instead, I think if you can find an alternative that's coming more from an emotional place, and that like all these other things are happening, but like he's not choosing to do it because he's just bad at the mine job, but that there's actually like something happening on an emotional level, in addition to elevating the stakes in a way where, yes, like he has no other resort, but I think that ultimately it has to come from an emotional place of like, I literally have no other choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Yeah, because I think a lot of the, at the moment, there are plot points that you need to get into a spot, and those points could be more emotional points,
Right.
where we learn more about him and why he's making this.
Go back to the Breaking Bad model, you know, that first scene is Walter White standing out there with the gun. I mean, the first scene is Court standing out there ready to kill himself. Then the whole pilot shows him getting to that point.
Yes.
And you see that scene again at the end. That's actually easier structure-wise for me to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that could really work. And then I think, yes, that opens you up to a whole pilot. And I think that's the other thing too, that maybe we're both sort of getting at, is like, I think that he can have more moments, can't talk tonight, of vulnerability, even if they're only alone, like even if they're only with himself. Like, I think that that will allow you more time to really open up his character, because I think that you spend so much of this, the first 30 pages, you know, kind of just showing him like putting up a wall to everyone. And I think if you have more moments where you can really open him up a little bit, at least to the audience, if not to other characters, like you can still show him having this hard facade with everyone else, but I think allowing the viewer to have 1 or 2 moments with him that allow us to see something deeper, I think will also, I think all help build more and help you better earn that moment where he's finally about to kill himself, because I think that you need the audience to really care about this character, and I think right now you're maybe not quite giving us enough yet to really get on that level.
Sure. Perfect sense.
I agree. Anybody? Sir?
I found it a little bit difficult, like, I don't know, maybe because I'm sitting far in the back to like, the court speaking. It was sometimes hard to hear his dialogue. So I felt that in the beginning stages I didn't really understand what was going on.
All right, we'll project more.
Yeah.
Indeed. Fair enough, yeah. Anyone? Well, like the backup couldn't hear anything, so we'll just go to the front. Oh, yes?
Mine's mainly just I look forward to seeing how you explore the whole conflict of back in the day with how complicated it all was with the invaders and the Indians and stuff. That aspect, that it's so complicated for him. I know you're going to be digging deep, and so that's kind of a cool place to go.
Well, thank you. I mean, the amount of Indians that were killed in California alone after the gold rush is unbelievable. And the slaughter and the just out and out trickery and stealing and theft that the American government perpetrated on them. When you get into it, it's just unbelievable.
So it's going to be cheering you.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mean, it's, again, but that's not the whole thing.
No.
Do you specify, I mean, I know we're looking at a draft or whatever, and it doesn't even have a title page, but do you specify anywhere that it's based on real people at all, or inspired by real events?
I mean, I would, you know, if it gets to the point of production, I mean, that's obviously, I mean, how do you put that in there, like real characters? These guys are real characters, these are fake? I mean, what do you put on the title?
Well, I think that if this really is inspired by true events,
Right.
then I would put that after your title page. I think that's actually really
Right.
important
Yeah.
to say.
Right.
Anything you got? Any other questions? Or anything you
No, I don't think so. Well, interesting to hear it out loud.
Rick Kramer, everyone.